Hey up everyone. Today we welcome in not 10 but 11 of the big boys. These are some of the biggest motorcycles ever built. Some have the biggest engines, others are the heavyweights of their day in other ways. All of them stand out in some way, and in a twist I've decided to let you decide who gets the title of the true heavyweight champion. I will put a poll on the community tab, so when you finish watching, go and make your vote count, and I will do a follow-up video on the bike you vote as the winner. You get to crown the ultimate heavyweight giant of the motorcycle world. I'm just going to go with the most obvious choices first, before the ones that you might not know so much about. But before I dive in, if you enjoyed the video, try and remember to hit the like button if you could. It costs nothing and helps the channel a lot. And if you subscribe, it means in theory at least that you get to find out first when our latest videos are released. Sharing the video helps too, and I do link other interesting videos by other real bikers around the world on the community tab on the main channel page, so it's always worth taking a look there to see what's happening. Anyway, to the bikes. 11 true heavyweight giants of the motorcycle world. First, the Honda Goldwing, the ultimate luxury touring motorcycle. The Honda Goldwing is the quintessential luxury touring motorcycle, a machine that's been redefining the boundaries of two-wheeled touring for over 4 decades. But that wasn't always the case. Introduced in 1975 as the GL1000, the Goldwing was Honda's flagship touring bike, but it was a sporting tourer, designed to take on the dominance of both Harley-Davidson in the US touring market and BMW in the European market. The original GL1000 Goldwing used an innovative 999cc flat-4 water-cooled 4-stroke engine with shaft drive and took smoothing out vibrations to a whole new level. Fast forward to the current GL1800 Goldwing and you'll find a 1833cc flat-6 engine that churns out around 123 horsepower to push this colossus along the road. The engine now gets a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, and the technological wizardry continues, with a ride-by-wire throttle, 4 rider modes and hill start assist to ensure control as well as comfort. One of the Goldwing's greatest strengths lies in its ability to eat endless miles in comfort with ease. Its powerful yet velvety smooth engine makes long distance touring a breeze. Spacious seating, endless storage and an array of luxuries rarely seen on a motorbike mean that the rider and passenger always travel in supreme comfort. Since its inception in 1975, the Goldwing has been in continuous production, but many updates and improvements over the years have kept it at the cutting edge of the touring motorcycle market. Not many bikes can boast that sort of achievement. The Goldwing's impact on the motorcycle industry can't be overstated. It set new standards for touring bikes, became the yardstick by which all of the touring motorcycles are measured, and still retains that position today. Next, we have the Triumph Rocket 3, the ultimate muscle bike. The Triumph Rocket 3 was a bold response to the American muscle cruiser market. At its heart beats a monstrous triple engine, which at its launch was the largest capacity mass-produced motorcycle engine in the world at 2,294cc, and this was later increased to 2,458cc. Producing around 180 horsepower and 225 Nm of torque, the Rocket 3 wasn't just about power, it was a statement. The muscular styling gave the Triumph Rocket 3 a road presence like nothing else, but it made load speed manoeuvres a test of skill and patience. The original Rocket 3 hit the market in 2004 and remained in production for over a decade, spawning many variations. Then, in 2020, Triumph unveiled the all-new Rocket 3 R and GT models, with an even bigger 2,458cc engine. It also got a lighter chassis and more modern tech features. The Rocket 3 played a pivotal role in opening up new markets for Triumph, gaining a cult following among the bigger is better fraternity of riders. In a world where many motorcycles strive for practicality and conformity, the Triumph Rocket 3 dared to be different. It is a machine that embodies the notion that bigger must mean better. For those who can't see past that, it is the ultimate muscle bike. Next, we have the BMW K1600, a touring masterpiece. In 2011, BMW shook the motorcycle world with the introduction of the K1600, a new flagship touring platform that used the first across-the-frame six-cylinder engine built in years. It pushed the limits of the luxury sport touring segment, and the K1600 had a silky smooth 1649cc inline-six engine that produced 160 horsepower and 180 Nm of torque. But the K1600's trump card was its power delivery and its long-range comfort. Loaded with cutting-edge technology, it included advanced traction control, adaptive headlights, electronically adjustable suspension and much more. It came in two variants, the luxury touring GTL model designed for long-distance comfort, and the Sport Touring GT model, catering for riders who prioritised agility and performance. Both versions offered that six-cylinder blend of luxurious comfort and endless performance. The K1600 set new standards in its class and cemented BMW's reputation as a leader in the touring market. Today, it is recognised as one of only a few six-cylinder motorcycle engines ever made, and for that, it deserves its place here. Next, we have the Amazonas 1600, a monstrous beast from the jungle. To understand the Amazonas, we need to look at the context of its creation. In the late 1970s, Brazil's economy was struggling, and the government put heavy tariffs on imports to bolster domestic industry. This made foreign motorcycles prohibitively expensive, and the police were stuck with aging Harley-Davidsons and no parts. Enter Daniel Rodriguez, a Sao Paulo-based engineer who saw an opportunity. He set out to design a motorcycle using domestically available parts, mainly from the Volkswagen Beetle. The result was the Amazonas 1600, first produced in 1977. It was a product of necessity and ingenuity, designed to fill a specific need. VW parts were easily available because Volkswagen had been manufacturing Beetles in Brazil since the 1950s, so the air-cooled 1600cc flat-4 Volkswagen Beetle engine was used. The frame was a basic duplex tube design, and suspension was designed in-house and described as woefully inadequate. Brakes were cobbled together from disc brakes from a Ford car and a Volkswagen master cylinder modified for handlebar use. Every component was just sourced from what was available locally. The result was a motorcycle that looked barely finished, with rough bodywork that couldn't disguise its ugly crudeness. But it worked, which was the biggest surprise of all. The standard model used a single Ford Escort carburettor, mounted inboard and split between the two-cylinder banks. The sportier Super eSport version got a marginal upgrade with twin carbs. A stock 4-speed Volkswagen transmission was adapted to chain drive by welding the differential gears and driving a sprocket off one of the half shafts, and it even had a functioning reverse gear. Power output was only around 50 horsepower, and considering the bike's immense weight of over 400 kilos, or nearly 900 pounds fully fueled, it had the power-to-weight ratio of a slug. But the engine did produce a more respectable 100 Nm of torque, which, to be honest, it needed to even get the damn thing moving. For civilian buyers, the Amazonas offered a big displacement motorcycle when no other options were available, and at the height of its production in the mid-1980s, Amazonas offered 4 main variants: the standard or eSport, a marginally sportier Super eSport version with twin carbs, a touring-orientated model called the Turismo with more luggage capacity, and the police spec version. Outside of Brazil, the Amazonas was seen as a curiosity at best. It just couldn't compete with motorcycles from the major manufacturers in terms of performance and handling. Production continued through the 1980s with gradual improvements, but by the early 1990s, changing import laws and the availability of more modern imported motorcycles spelled the end for the Amazonas. A modernised version called the Kahena was introduced around 1990 or 1992, featuring an updated chassis and bodywork, but details of this model are scarce, and I have no idea how many were actually built. Next, we have the Triumph Thunderbird 1700, a thunderous vertical twin. The Triumph Thunderbird 1700 has the biggest parallel twin engine on the market. It blends classic British style with modern performance in a super size me package. While Triumph has a long history of producing parallel twin motorcycles, the Thunderbird 1700 took things to an entirely new level in 2009 when it became the largest parallel twin in the world. Triumph's 1996cc parallel twin churns out a healthy 95 horsepower and 111 foot-pounds of torque from below 3000 RPM. Power delivery is linear and smooth, with loads of low-end grunt for effortless acceleration. The big twin didn't need the 6-speed gearbox, but a belt final drive helped put the power down smoothly. With a curb weight of 380 kilos or 837 pounds, this is an undeniably heavy bike, but a low 27.6-inch seat height and careful mass centralisation made the Thunderbird feel surprisingly agile for its size. It also has a practical 22-litre fuel tank, so you will get over 200 miles from the tank. And anything not included will always be in the endless Triumph Extras catalogue. Just make sure you add up the zeros before you sign on the dotted line. The Thunderbird is surprisingly manageable around town, where its low centre of gravity and effortless waves of torque make life easy. It's just as at home on long highway runs though. It's even a fun bike to ride in the twisties unless you start trying to get all Valentino Rossi on it. Where the Thunderbird shines most is on the open road. It has plush suspension, a comfortable riding position, and it always feels planted. All in all, this heavyweight British bruiser punched above its weight and is one of a kind, and for that it should be applauded. Next, we have the Honda VTX 1800, a new breed of power cruiser. In the early 2000s, before the Rocket 3 was born, the cruiser market was hotting up. Riders were demanding bigger, more powerful bikes with classic styling. To meet this demand, Honda introduced the VTX 1800, the biggest V-twin cruiser they had ever made. The VTX 1800 engine was a formidable 1795cc liquid-cooled 52-degree V-twin, producing 100 horsepower and 163 newton-meters of torque. That furious torque meant it could outmuscle many sport bikes of the era while retaining that signature cruiser style. When it hit the market in 2001, it had no competition really. Reviewers raved about the VTX 1800's tremendous power delivery and surprisingly agile handling. It gave Honda credibility in the cruiser market and lit a fire under the other manufacturers in the rapidly growing power cruiser sector. Even today, the VTX 1800 stands out as an iconic Japanese power cruiser that showed people what a modern V-twin cruiser could actually do. It was versatile and practical as well as big and powerful. Next, we have the BMW R18, reviving a legendary legacy. In a brave move to revisit the cruiser market, BMW introduced the R18, a bike that paid homage to the company's iconic air-cooled boxer engine's heritage, but on a monumental scale. The engine of the R18 is a 1802cc air-over-oil cooled flat-twin engine, the largest in BMW's history, but BMW went old school, using push rods rather than overhead cams, and the visible chromed pushrod tubes were obviously a deliberate look back towards the legendary air-cooled boxer engines of their past. With a weight of almost 360 kilos, or over 790 pounds, the 91 horsepower and 116 foot-pounds of torque figures aren't flattering, and they make riding the humongous motorcycle less exhilarating and more of a relaxing experience. But that's exactly what the aim was. A gentleman's cruiser. The bike is all about the details. The frame blends into the swing arm to make it look like a traditional hardtail. The fishtail exhausts hark back to the early 1930s R5, and the exposed nickel-plated shaft drive is a work of art, even if it is very vulnerable. The centrally mounted clocks have Berlin built inscribed on the dials, with what appears to be hand-painted double pinstriping. It looks like a one-off special, not a mass-produced bike, which has just been wheeled off the production line. It offers a unique and nostalgic experience, but with a quality ride, all made possible with the best up-to-date running gear and other modern features. For those who think size matters, it has to be worth a look. But you might also want to consider the Kawasaki VN2000 Vulcan, the biggest Japanese V-twin cruiser. In 2004, Kawasaki shook the motorcycle world with the introduction of the biggest Vulcan ever, the Kawasaki VN2000, a cruiser with the biggest displacement mass-produced V-twin engine ever built. It was a bold statement by Kawasaki, who have always been known for their fantastic engines. The aim was to create the most powerful and torque-rich cruiser on the market, a bike that would leave an indelible mark on motorcycle history. The huge 2053cc liquid-cooled 4-valve per-cylinder V-twin engine produced more of everything than the VTX 1800. You got 112 horsepower at 4,800 RPM and an incredible 190 Newton meters of torque at just 2,800 RPM. Counterbalancers and rubber engine mounts cut vibration, and a 5-speed gearbox with belt final drive made for a smooth, effortless ride. The low 26.8-inch seat height and comfortable riding position made the VN2000 a joy to ride, and its immense power and torque made long, high-mile days effortless. The big 5.5 gallon fuel tank also meant you weren't stopping every 150 miles either. With a curb weight of 380 kilos or 837 pounds, the VN2000 is far from lightweight, and its low 5.3-inch ground clearance limits lean angles. But that big engine is hypnotic, although it takes a toll on fuel economy if you twist your wrist too much. The Kawasaki VN2000 was produced from 2004 to 2010, with minor updates and styling changes throughout its run. 3 variants were offered: the standard, a classic version with a more retro look, and a classic LT or bagger. The VN2000's massive engine made it stand out from the crowd in a world of cruisers, and while its production may have ended, its legacy lives on. This was the bike the Rocket 3 was built to dethrone. Next, we go back to a bygone era with the Vanine OCR1000, the biggest rotary-engined superbike. In the 1970s, a daring Dutch engineer named Henk van Veen, the Creedler importer in Holland and a Grand Prix race tuner, had the idea to create a rotary-engined superbike. The resulting bike was the now legendary Vanine OCR1000. The rotary engine gave him a compact and powerful alternative to traditional piston engines, but its use in motorcycles remained largely untested. Vanine acquired the rights to produce motorcycles using the Comator rotary engine, originally designed for the ill-fated Citroën GS birotor, and the 996cc liquid-cooled double-rotor engine produced 107 horsepower and 103 foot-pounds of torque, making it the biggest, most powerful rotary bike available. One of the key advantages of the rotary engine should have been its power-to-weight ratio, but at around 700 pounds or 320 kilos, the OCR1000 was just too heavy. The engine had drawbacks too. It was plagued by poor fuel economy, high oil consumption and rotor tip seal wear. But despite its shortcomings, it outperformed the Suzuki RE5 and the Hercules W2000 rotary bikes and many other sports bikes of the day. It just couldn't match the performance of the Norton rotary. An even bigger problem was its price tag. A staggering $15,000 in the late 1970s. That would make its price tag today in the region of $72,000. Only 38 of the Vanine OCR1000 were produced, built between 1979 and 1981. High costs, flaws in the engine design, and the bankruptcy of the Comator engine supplier made it impossible for Vanine to survive. In 2011, the tooling for the OCR1000 was acquired by some Dutch entrepreneurs though, and a revival effort was launched. They announced a final run of just 10 bikes, each priced at a staggering $115,000. While the OCR1000 may not have achieved commercial success, its ambitious story and rarity have cemented its place in motorcycle history, and it stands as a reminder of both the potential and limitations of rotary engines. Across the border in Germany, another legend had been born. The Monk Mammoth, an icon of German engineering. In the annals of motorcycle history, few machines have commanded as much reverence and intrigue as the Monk Mammoth. This colossal contraption, born from the genius mind of German builder Friedel Munch, defied the boundaries of what was possible on two wheels. The Monk Mammoth's origins go back to the 1940s. Friedel Munch bought the Horex company he had been working for when they went bankrupt. Then he set out to create his own specials, using Norton featherbed frames and a massive 4-cylinder NSU car engine. It gave the Mammoth incredible performance figures for its day. The early 1000cc models produced around 80 horsepower, but fuel injection pushed that up to 100 horsepower, leaving the market in its wake. The Mammoth's unique features didn't stop there though. It had a cast magnesium rear wheel with flat spokes, a unique and striking design that reduced weight and improved heat dissipation. Other magnesium components such as the seat, mudguard, headlamp, bucket and chain guard all helped keep weight down, and despite weighing around 650 pounds or just under 300 kilos, it was agile and responsive. Despite its groundbreaking design and performance, the Monk Mammoth's production was plagued by financial woes. Between 1966 and the late 70s, fewer than 500 of these hand-built machines rolled off the assembly line. But Monk wasn't a quitter. The Mammoth grew from 1000cc up to 1200cc, and then into the even bigger Titan, released under the original Horex name. I will talk about the final incarnation, a monstrous 2000cc version made in the year 2000, another day. Today, the original Monk Mammoth stands as an example of hand-built German engineering and design at its very best. Sadly, Friedel Munch, the creative genius behind all of the Monk Mammoth designs, passed away after a lengthy illness on April the 26th, 2014. but I will be revisiting the whole story of Friedel Monk in a separate video coming soon. Lastly today, we have a motorcycle that epitomises the bare-bones approach to motorcycles. That bike is the NSU Bison, a legend of the motorcycle world. The NSU Bison is not just a motorcycle, it is a story of a man with an obsession. That man was Fritz Lange, and the obsession was to build the world's biggest single-cylinder motorcycle ever. I love a man who has dreams, and this dream began in the mid-90s with a pretty uninspiring NSU Consul 500cc motorcycle. But by 1998, Fritz Lange showed the world his 958cc NSU Bison. The frame was built from the original NSU design, the suspension came from Moto Guzzi, and the wheels off a Harley, so it was what we would call a bitzer, made from bits of this and bits of that. It took the title of the biggest single ever built and was a masterpiece of engineering and a credit to the ingenuity of this marvel of a man. Then things started to get even more ridiculous. The title was lost, but the obsession continued. Lange was looking at making the engine even bigger and eventually came up with a solution. The engine block had to be extended by 66mm and 17 3mm thick cooling fins were added with another 10 4mm cooling fins on the cylinder head. Then the whole block was held to the crankcase by 14 mounting bolts. Lange replaced the original cylinder and pistons with a bigger unit from a radial aeroplane engine. The original piston weighed 3.3 kilos, or over 7 pounds. So he managed to persuade Mahler to make up a custom lightweight piston that weighed just 1.6 kilos, less than half the weight of the original. The new crank had to be built from scratch too, and had a 118mm stroke. It weighed a staggering 34 kilos or 75 pounds, and that gave it a capacity of 122 cubic inches, or 1,999cc. The exhaust was a massive 75mm or 3-inch straight pipe, so you can imagine the thunderous sound. In theory, it kicked out around 80 horsepower, but I have no idea of its rev range or torque figures. What I can say is that I can imagine that piston would be able to create a big hole in my chest if I was riding it and it blew. The NSU Bison was the solution to a problem that didn't exist. But Lange built it anyway, and I for one am glad he did. I wish I was a fraction of the engineer he must have been to pull off a build like this. Before I go, we do have some honourable mentions. Now, there are many other bikes that could have featured here. In other videos I have already featured the Horex VR6, the PGM V8, CBX and Z1300, and of course then there's the Honda Rune and Valkyrie, the Harley CVO and the Indian Chief, to name just a few others. The Boss Hoss could also have been mentioned, but it will have to feature at another time. The reality is, as always, I had to stop somewhere, but I may revisit the subject again. Finally, there is one bike I must mention briefly. This is a bike shrouded in mystery. Klaus Mies apparently built a 3034cc single-cylinder monster, which he called the HG3000. As the story goes, it was built as a bet. There are BMW suspension bits, some Volkswagen and Porsche parts, plus contributions from a tractor, but details are very sparse. But I will keep digging. That one is another story for a different day. To finish today, I will say that all the bikes here are more than just motorcycles. They are tangible pieces of motorcycle history, reminders of what can be achieved when creativity and determination meet. Their stories fuel the dreams of those who dare to push the boundaries of what is possible on two wheels. And as I said, I will be doing a deeper dive into the story of Friedel and Monk soon. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and as always I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments and on the community page. Don't forget to cast your vote in the poll on the community page, so you get your say as to which bike is voted the true heavyweight champion of the motorcycle world. If you got this far and haven't already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing does help us a lot, and it means you get to find out first when our regular updates, news, views and other videos go out. We do have the best and most respectful motorcycle community on YouTube, and I thank all of you for that. From the people who have been here since the start to the ones who have joined us more recently, you are the people that have helped make this channel what it is today. Remember to check out the other Real Biker channels linked on the community page too. Together we are stronger. Please share the video on any forums you use and with anyone you think will be interested if you could. That's one of the things that helps the most. It kicks the YouTube algorithm into gear and helps to get the channel out there to new viewers. For the best biker t-shirts and other merchandise made by bikers for bikers, you can visit the website or the Redbubble shop linked in the description below too. There are other exciting motorcycle adventures and other stories from the shed and beyond on the website too, so why not grab a cuppa and take a look around. You won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. I hope you get some great riding in, and remember, keep your spanners close and your keys even closer. Ride free, everyone!